Evening. Starting to rain here in Florida, which is the norm. I'd like to talk about time management in a relationship. I've had a couple of young couple friends of mine that they've gotten into fights about, well, he never wants to do anything with me. And he's come home from, a 50-hour week, and he just wants to decompress. And she's right, because he's not spending time with her, but he's making the money that will afford them the luxuries and the basic necessities that they want. But he's got to think of her. And so when the weekend comes around, figure a day you've got 14 hours. 4 hours of that's going to be tied up with home maintenance. You're going to mow a lawn or paint a wall, something. So basically you've got 10 hours. And my suggestion is you divide it in half. Half of it goes to you for yourself, okay? Kill scorpions in an online game, okay? I write. I find it amazing to create my own universes. Not just one, I've got several that I've created. Everybody loves me there, except when I kill them. Or you might choose something like going hunting or golfing or lifting weights. I never saw the point in lifting weights except it makes you look strong, but hey, that may be a vanity thing, but on the other hand, it might be personal health, and you've set goals. That's up to you. But you have to have something that is yours. But for the other 5 hours a day, on the weekend, do something like together. Go to a park, go to a beach. And I'm going to say that sitting in church together doesn't count as together time because you're not paying attention to each other. Going to a movie doesn't count as spending time together because you're not even looking at each other. You're engrossed in somebody else's world, maybe one that I made. But it isn't together time. What it is more decompress time. So that kind of is a cheat. However, if after the movie, if after the sermon and going to church, you talk about it, that almost counts as double because you've experienced something and now you're going over it in each other's minds and bonding over what happened and what was important and what wasn't and how it applies to your life. One of the things that happened to me was, and this was after I was divorced, and all of my advice about marriage, come on, I'm a divorced guy, so does it even count? But one of the things that I heard in a sermon was, rather than asking picky questions, and this came from out of the sermon, go and mow a widow's lawn. And I took that to heart, and I called up one of the local couples that were way old, and he was in declining health. And I went over, and I called on the phone first and said, hey, would you mind if I mowed your lawn? And Leon was like, oh, that would be wonderful. I'm so tired when I mow half of the front lawn that I have to wait a day before I mow the other half of the front lawn. And there's still the back lawn. And so I went over, and I was 50 at the time, so it didn't make any difference to me. So I just go over there and zoop, done. And then I wound up coming inside and found out Leon plays chess. Of course, he cheats, but it's his own house, so hey, it was okay for him. And if it's okay for him, then it's okay for me. But I played chess with the guy. And his lovely wife, she would bring crackers and make sure the sweet tea was filled. And she just puttered around in the background. She wouldn't interfere. And I always kind of wanted to include her, but this was Leon time. This is something that he did for himself. It wasn't something that she was at all interested in. But she loved him. I'm saying 5 hours, a couple of days, that's 10 hours total, spend together doing something, the both of you, whether that's going to a park. I know my folks always used to either take us to the beach or to a park or to a museum, something for a few hours in the afternoon, either Saturday or Sunday. That was bonding time, not just for mom and dad to stay connected as a couple. That was time for the kids to bond. Now, fishing. My dad didn't like me throwing rocks in the river. But you know what? He let me go upriver. He said, no more than 5 minutes up, so that when I call, you'll come. Because we need to go home eventually. Okay. And I'd come back and I'd sit behind him and watch him do his thing. But it was together time. And he could explain things to me that he thought a young fisherman should know, and frankly, I never cared about. But the thing was, I was with him, and that was important. Okay, I'll give you another example. I had a project that I had to do, hundreds and hundreds, 20,000 of these little parts. So I drilled a hole into a 2x4. Actually, I drilled 100 holes in groups of 20, okay? And as I was working, I would put the parts in. Actually, I did this 3 times because there was 3 different colors, okay? With 3 different colors, I didn't have to count them. I just do them out of the batch, which were different colors, and I would put them in the correct color carrier. And when I got 100, hey, just dump it in the big bag, seal it, put it aside, go on to the next. But when I was making those fixtures, drilling the holes, my wife was sitting next to me, and we were chattering, and the drill press would come down, and I thought it was pretty cool because as the spade drill goes in and it's spinning, you can see through the bit because it's a flat spade, and part of the time it's on edge. You can see through the bit, and you can see the layers of wood being peeled away, and I thought that was pretty cool. My wife, not so much. I was having fun, so I said, hey, I think you might want to have some fun. Would you like to do a couple of holes? And he's like, would you like to put the next egg in the souffle? Well, no, I wouldn't, but thank you for being here with me and chattering and enjoying our time together. That was a good bonding experience. I made it 20 years, so I did something right. On the other hand, I did some things wrong, and working too much was one of those. Yeah, we had a good physical life, but some of the actual good stuff is spending time with this wonderful person that you spent a lifetime. On the other hand, maybe I spent too much time with her because I worked out of the home, and therefore I was there in the morning and in the afternoon and at night, and she didn't get a break from me. How rough is that? What a wonderful woman for putting up with me for 20 years, because literally in 20 years, we got more together time than a lot of couples get in 50 years. So, kind of a balance, right? And I'm not always that easy to live with. I recognize that. But if you can get 5 hours a day on the weekend of together time, time where you're commenting on the river, okay? When you're commenting on the sand fleas, or that's the ugliest picture I've ever seen hang out on a wall, okay? Whatever it is. Or just go to the mall and watch the foot traffic. That's when I learned. I was a year married before I found out my wife doesn't think redheads are pretty. I've always thought they were gorgeous. My first girlfriend was a redhead, so I'm quite biased. Wow. But she always thought redheads were ugly. And not just because I thought they were pretty. It's a difference. Anyway, finding out those differences takes time. You're not going to find them out in the first 6 weeks, okay? It just never happens. But what you will find out as time goes by, if you really like this other person. You don't have to open the bottom pit of your soul on day one. I've met some people who'll do that, and I found that the pit of their soul isn't all that deep. Whatever. But you'll find if they truly love you. And that's a good thing. Cheers.